रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम.
രാഷ്ട്രകർമ്മ നിർവഹിക്കുന്നത് ശബനം ഹാഷ്മി. ഏറ്റുവാങ്ങുന്നത് അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ഇ.വി. ലിജീഷ്. ഒപ്പം മാതൃഭൂമിയുടെ പത്രപ്രവർത്തകൻ ശ്രീ നൌഷാദിനെ സ്നേഹപൂർവ്വം വേദിയിലേക്ക് ക്ഷണിക്കുകയാണ്.
We invite Shabnam Hasmi to release the book by Ramachandra Guha and S. Radhakrishnan. ചരിത്ര വ്യക്തി 4 സംഭാഷണങ്ങൾ.
पतित पावन सीताराम. रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम. सीताराम सीताराम.
ഏറ്റുവാങ്ങുന്നത് അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ഇ.വി. ലിജീഷ്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് സെഷൻ അഭിമുഖം.
ഈ വേദിയിൽ അഭിമുഖം ഉടനെ തന്നെ ആരംഭിക്കുന്നു. ശ്രീ രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹയും എസ് ഗോപാലകൃഷ്ണനും. ഈ വേദിയിൽ സ്വാഗതം പറയുന്നത് പി.കെ. രാമചന്ദ്രൻ.
വിശിഷ്ട വ്യക്തികളെ, പ്രിയ സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെ, മഹാത്മാഗാന്ധിയുടെ സന്ദർശനം കൊണ്ട് ധന്യമായ വടകരയുടെ മണ്ണിലേക്ക് ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റിലൂടെ മഹാത്മാഗാന്ധിയെ വീണ്ടും നമ്മൾ ആനയിക്കുകയാണ്. ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു സെഷനാണ് ഇന്നിവിടെ നടക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഈ സെഷനിൽ ലോകം ആദരിക്കുന്ന, ലോകം അറിയപ്പെടുന്ന ശ്രീ രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹയുടെ സാന്നിധ്യം ഈ ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റിന് നൽകുന്ന തിളക്കം ഒന്ന് വേറെ തന്നെയാണ്. സ്വാഗത ഭാഷണം എന്ന കടമയിലേക്ക് കടക്കട്ടെ. ഡിസ്റ്റിങ്വിഷ്ഡ് ഗസ്റ്റ്, on and off the dais, dear delegates and my dear friends. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all to this epoch-making event. That this is being held in Vadagara, a land marked in the national movement of India is to be borne in mind. This is the land which Mahatma Gandhi referred to as the land to be remembered for the sacrifice of the young girl Kaumudi, who gave her gold ornaments to the Harijan Welfare Fund. This is the land of great poets and writers of yore and the present day. Today, we have in the midst of us Sri Ramachandra Guha, the renowned historian known the world over. He is the author of various books on Gandhi. This is the first time that our land is blessed with His presence. Sir, we warmly welcome you to this land endowed with the visit of Mahatma Gandhi. I also extend our hearty and warm welcome next to Sri S. Gopalakrishnan. He has written several articles in Malayalam as well as in English. He is the visiting fellow in Gandhian studies at Mahatma Gandhi University. And I also welcome Sri Srijesh Nagapalli, who is to propose the vote of thanks. I warmly and heartily welcome one and all who have gathered here to make this function grand success. Thank you.
Ramachandra Guha is not only a historian, but also one of the best conversationists I have ever met. It is not easy to talk to a writer who thinks carefully but with an amazing speed. This is my 5th open conversation with Ram Guha. The previous conversations have now been published in a book form which was released now. But till now, there has never been a conversation solely about Mahatma Gandhi. That is what happening today. I thank the organizers of the Gandhi Fest, Vadakara, for providing the opportunity for that conversation. The first 45 minutes are designed for a conversation between us, and the rest of around 20 minutes are for questions from the audience for Ramachandra Guha's responses. I am playing a 4-minute piece of music as an introduction before we get into this conversation. Allow me to begin the conversation with a tarana in the raga Hamsathwani sung by Ustad Amir Khan as Gandhi, who transformed his life into a series of truthful enquiries, did it all like a dance of joy. Tarana is for dance of joy. Srijit. Welcome, Ramachandra Guha, for this conversation.
Thank you, Gopal, and that was a perfect piece of music. The great musician singing, technically a Muslim musician. Here we are celebrating someone who was technically a Hindu, but of course both transcended their religious boundaries. And of course, you have chosen a tarana and a rag that is originally from Carnatic music, imported by Hindustani music. So it's a perfect metaphor for the pluralism and diversity of our land, which we must always cherish. So thank you.
Yes. Raga Hamsatini is basically South Indian music, raga, and it was taken to Hindustani music by Ustad Aman Ali Khan of Bendi Basar Gharana, and then Ustad Amir Khan Saab, through this tarana and other compositions, he popularized the raga in the North Indian music. Therefore, the raga which you heard now is basically from South India. We are living through 2025. This year has a special relevance in Indian socio-political history, especially for the modern India. 2025 is the centenary of Sarojini Naidu becoming the first Indian woman president of the International Congress. We can't forget the fact that only in 1928 women in Britain got the right to vote. You have written that it was Gandhi who took the initiative to make Sarojini Naidu the president of Congress. What were the factors that enabled Gandhi to take the lead in bringing women into the social arena in a country like India in the early decades of the 20th century?
That's a very important question, but to understand why Gandhi was instrumental in having a female president of an Indian political party at a time when no major Western democracy, so neither England nor France nor Germany or the United States, had women even as the president of a district council or as a MLA. To understand that, we have to go back to Gandhi's years in South Africa and how that shaped him. Gandhi grew up as a typical Indian patriarch, which meant he expected his wife to serve him. Of course, he loved his mother. But apart from the patriarchal belief that man is superior to woman, Gandhi also, because he was born in the 19th century, never knew a woman who was not of the household. So the only women he knew were his mother, his sister, his wife, maybe a female cousin. It was impossible in the India that Gandhi grew up in for men and women to be friends. Not romantic friends or romantic partners, but just friends. And in South Africa, Gandhi met two remarkable Western women. So the first was a lady called Millie Pollack, whose husband, Henry Pollack, was Gandhi's closest friend. And Henry was a Jew, Millie was a Christian. And the marriage, Gandhi, the Hindu, was the witness. And they shared a home in Johannesburg, a white couple sharing a home with an Indian couple in Johannesburg, which is the most racist country in the world in 1905. And Millie saw that Gandhi would go to the law chambers, come back, and Kasturba would not eat till the husband came. That is still common, regrettably, in some Hindu households, maybe not in Kerala, but in other parts of India. And she said, what is this? Why should the woman serve the husband? And then she got into a debate with Gandhi, which she recollects in her book, and slowly Gandhi started recognizing that this kind of unconscious superiority that the Hindu man had, and of course in India also the Muslim man and the Sikh man, and in Kerala surely the Syrian Christian man as well, had over his wife was wrong. And he opened up slowly. Then in his office, he had a woman secretary, a Jewish secretary called Sonia Schlesing, who was incredibly independent-minded person. So Gandhi was her boss, but she would argue with Gandhi. So slowly he was shedding his patriarchal prejudices. As time moved on, Gandhi's eyes were opened further by women taking part in the satyagraha. So in Gandhi's first satyagraha in South Africa, 1906, 1907, it was only men who went to jail. But in 1913, when the struggle became more intense and volunteers were needed, an extraordinary Tamil family of Tammi Naidu and his wife and the daughters went to jail. And then Kasturba also went to jail. So he could see women have political and social agency. So when he comes back and he says, women are half our population. Why should they be excluded from public life? It may be difficult. It's a conservative society. In many homes, women are not educated. They're certainly not doing dharna on the streets. And so, the greatness of Gandhi Gopal, and on this you and I are agreed, is that he was always evolving, always learning, always broadening his philosophical worldview. If you look at his attitude towards Dalits, that has been extremely misrepresented, that he supported Chaturvarna. That is not true at the end, because he changed his mind. He was always becoming more radical. With regard to his attitude to Dalits, as I describe in my biography, it was the followers of Sri Narayana Guru, beginning with the journalist T.K. Madhavan, and then the Guru himself, who radicalized Gandhi, and then Dr. Ambedkar radicalized Gandhi further. He was always growing. So, it's very easy to criticize Gandhi if you pick one quote from somewhere and don't look at what happened 5, 10, 20, 30 years later. Similarly with women. So Sarojini Naidu becomes president of the Congress. But before that, 5 years after that, the salt satyagraha takes place. And Gandhi says, no, only men will march. So when he goes from his ashram, Sabarmati ashram in Ahmedabad, to the coast in Dandi, he has 78 marchers from different parts of India, different castes, different religions, but all men. Because he feels in a conservative society, people will get angry, upset, resent women coming into public. And he tells the women, your job is promoting khadi and preventing alcoholism. So your men should not drink too much liquor, which they often did, and maybe they say in Kerala they still do. But he said women will not go to salt march. Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, whom I am proud to say is originally from my home state of Karnataka, went with a Parsi lady called Perin Captain, who was the granddaughter of the great Dadabhai Nauroji. They caught up with Gandhiji on his march and said, we will also participate, and we will also join the satyagraha, and we will also go to jail. So, and then of course, women took part in the salt march and even more in the Quit India movement, where many quite remarkable women, Aruna Asaf Ali, Kamala Devi, and Usha Mehta, who started an underground radio in Mumbai. So, this is all part of a process of Gandhi recognizing that the excluded, disadvantaged, oppressed groups have to find their place in public life. And all this is, you could say, the long prehistory of how, when the constitution was written, women, Dalits, Adivasis all had equal rights.
Thank you.
So you have to go into the past, and particularly what happened in South Africa and how his South African experience changed him.
You realized during your readings to understand Gandhi, it is not enough to just read what Gandhi wrote and spoke. That is what probably forced you to go beyond the 99-volume anthology of Gandhi. How did you come across the letters that Gandhi received from all over the world, the reports about Gandhi compiled by various governments, the secret police registers from around the world in the 19th and 20th centuries, and the reports in various newspapers? Say about your journeys through the Gandhi archives.
So, Gandhi wrote a great deal. Gandhi was wrote in 3 languages, Gujarati and English, and in Hindi towards the end of his life. And the 97 volumes of his collected works have his letters, speeches, interviews, all in these 3 volumes. And because there are 97 volumes of what he said, many people, when they write books on Gandhi, rely largely on that. But there's so much else, as Gopal says, the letters written to him, the letters about him, the intelligence reports, and newspaper reports. And while the 97 volumes of Gandhi's collected works are online, and the Sabarmati Ashram has a very good website, by Gandhi Heritage Portal, where you can get them, all this other material is not there. You have to go to Delhi, to Ahmedabad, to London, to South Africa. I made 5 trips to South Africa. I even found a rich collection of Gandhi material in Israel. Because Gandhi had a very close Jewish friend called, not to talk, Gandhi had a very close Jewish friend called Herman Kallenbach, whose descendants settled in South Africa. So it meant years and years of trawling through different archives, state archives. For example, I'll give you one example. I could give many examples. For example, Gandhi was imprisoned 3 times in India. He was imprisoned twice in South Africa, 3 times South Africa too. In India, he was in jail after the non-cooperation movement, 1922 to 24. Then after Salt March from 31, from basically 30 to 34, he was in and out of jail. And during quit India, 42 to 44. All his jail terms were in Pune. Pune was then under the Bombay Presidency. And the archive of the Bombay Presidency is in Bombay in Elphinstone College. And no biographer had studied the jail records. What is there in the jail records while he's in jail? Because that is not in the collected works. It's not the jail records are incredibly rich. People writing to Gandhi, wanting to see Gandhi, what the British think of Gandhi. Then with regard to his last term in Aga Khan Palace, 42-44, that's when his closest associate Mahadev Desai and Kasturba Gandhi both died. The 2 people who are closest to him. Now Mahadev Desai, Kasturba people know, but Mahadev Desai is a largely forgotten man today. But Mahadev Desai was Gandhi's right-hand man. Mahadev Desai was more important to Gandhi than Nehru, Patel, Rajaji, all combined. Without Nehru and Patel, there would have been a Gandhi. Without Mahadev Desai, there would have been no Gandhi. He was the most extraordinary man. I mean, and there should be a statue to him in every district in India, because according to me, after Gandhi, he was the greatest Indian patriot. And he died in that jail, and he was much younger than Gandhi. He was 23 younger than Gandhi. And Gandhi was bereft. And so the reports of Mahadev's death, and then Kasturba's death, and illness are all there. So, I would go to, of course, I would go, and when you go to an archive, Gopal, you don't know what you'll find. So I go to the Maharashtra State Archives. It is in Elphinstone College, Kala Ghoda, quite close to Gateway of India and all. And you have to look at the records and for those of you who have not done historical research, it is very exciting because I said, you don't know what you'll find. So there'll be an index. It will say Home Department, index for 1942. Gandhi's arrest, that's all. Then you file number 306 by 2 by C by D something. You order that file, 1 piece of paper might come. Gandhi was arrested on this day. Or 400 pages may come. All the correspondence, all the letters, what the British were thinking. So that's the journey and it's a very tiring, exhausting journey, but thrilling.
Even these smaller religious groups in the US and all, where he had interaction.
Yeah, of course. All kinds of letters are all there in the papers in Tin Murti. All kinds of people writing to him, And so for example, I talked about Mahadev and Kasturba. So there was a large collection of Gandhi papers that were, I would say, sort of illegally in the possession of one family. I won't mention the name, but Gandhi's own private papers for 30s and 40s were not allowed public access. And I may say they were opened by 3 people. I took the lead. Then Dr. N. Balakrishnan, who was deputy director of Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, supported me. But the final person who supported me was a person from Kerala, so let me mention him. K. Jayakumar of the IAS, who I think his father is a well-known filmmaker, I think. Is that right? What is the father's name? Krishna Nair. Krishna Nair. Okay. So then we prepared a petition to open these papers, to get them open, reclassified as Gandhi papers. And there are some 800 files now in the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, now renamed Prime Minister's Library. And on that, and no one had seen these till we got them open. Now everyone can see them. So again, since I mentioned Kasturba and Mahadev, in those papers, Gandhi was in jail. And from all over India, people were, first his closest associate Mahadev died, then his wife died. All over India, people were sending him telegrams, condolence letters. But Gandhi was in jail, he could not see them. In this archive, they are there. 500 letters and telegrams about Mahadev Desai and what he meant to Gandhi. And so I think this is the richness of the material on Gandhi outside the collected works is what I tried to tap.
When you went to teach at an American university, you were free to choose the course you wanted to teach.
Yes.
When you chose Gandhi, the department head said not to be surprised if not a single student showed up. But students from different cultures and corners of the world came there. Can you tell about that memory?
Yes, so this was 1997, almost 30 years ago. And I was, developing an interest in Gandhi. This is the University of California at Berkeley. And I wanted to teach a course on, at that time, I was a specialist on environmental history. And I had written 3 books on India's environmental problems. And since you will permit me, since I'm in this wonderful state, in those days, in my work on environmental movements, I got to know and greatly admire Professor M.K. Prasad of the KSSP, who was instrumental in getting some of our work translated into Malayalam. So I was known as an environmental scholar. So the university invited me to teach a course on environmentalism. But I said I will teach a course on Gandhi. And they said, look, this is California. It is the cutting edge of solar energy and green thinking. And in America, unlike in India, in a university, attendance is not compulsory. The name of the course comes, name of the lecturer. Depending on whether students find the lecturer interesting or the course important, they turn up. So 2 people may enroll, 200 may enroll. So I was told by my host, if you teach a course on the environmental movement in India and the world, since this is California, you'll get 100 students. But if you teach a course on Gandhi, you will get only a few ABCDs, America-born confused desis. And then one friend added that maybe they will not just be ABCDs, they will be ABCDEFGs, America-born confused desis, emigrated from Gujarat. So I was very nervous, but then I went and taught the course, and there were some 40 students from all across. An African-American, a Jew, a Burmese student who had been in the pro-democracy movement. And then I realized Gandhi is a global figure. Here I am going from Bangalore to teach a course in Berkeley on Gandhi, and there are students from 15 nationalities. If an American professor came to Bangalore University and offered a course on George Washington, surely there would be no one who's taking it. Right? So that is when I realized that is how Gandhi is universal. He is not the father, he may or may not be the father of the nation, but he is the most interesting Indian. I flew here yesterday, Friday. My flight was in the evening, and before that, I went to see a cartoon exhibition. Now, those of you who visit my hometown, Bengaluru, there's a very nice cartoon gallery, Indian cartoon gallery off MG Road, near the Trinity Circle. And there was an exhibition of caricatures on Gandhi. So I went to see it. And they were, of course, many Indian cartoonists, including some Malayali cartoonists who had drawn sketches of Gandhi, but they had got caricatures of Gandhi by cartoonists from 23 different countries. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Brazil, Italy, Spain. Now tell me, will there be any cartoonist from any over the world who will be, I don't want to make this a political talk, but, drawing cartoons celebrating some other Indian leader whom is currently told to be greater than Gandhi? No chance. So that was the extraordinary thing about Gandhi, that in different ways, and as I was explaining to Gopal earlier today, I'm a Gandhi scholar. I'm not a Gandhian, because I occasionally like a glass of gin. I'm not a Gandhian. And I'm not a Gandhi Bhakt either. There's some things about his politics, his personal behavior, his treatment of his wife, his treatment of Subhash Bose, that I don't agree with. But overall, on the big things he was right, and he was universal. He was speaking not just to India. So like the Buddha, Gandhi was speaking to the whole world, and we kicked out the Buddha, and that the rest of the world upheld the Buddha. The rest of the world will uphold Gandhi, but we have to make sure we don't kick out Gandhi. That's our job here, and that's why a festival like this is so important, and I congratulate the organizers of this festival.
Biographies of Gandhi have generally focused solely on his life. Whether it is book by Louis Fisher, Joseph Lely-Weld, Bhikkhu Parekh, or Judith Brown. But in your case, there is a difference. I feel like you have considered all of his friends, his relationships with them, their opinions about Gandhi, and above all, Gandhi's family.
Yeah.
In your view, how should a biographer look at the life of the person they are writing about?
So, this goes back a long way. When I started out as a biographer, I met a great Cambridge scholar called Nicholas Boyle, who is the most famous living biographer of the great German writer Goethe, the truly world figure. And I was young, I was just learning about biography, and he told me the most important thing of the biography is not the main character, but the characters around him or her. Your main character is Gandhi, but unless you flesh out and make living his friends, his rivals, his associates, his devotees, his wife, his children, those who oppressed him. So all that is part of my book. And when I finished my second volume, my editor in New York, Knopf, who was actually Sunny Mehta, an Indian who proudly kept his Indian passport till he died, told me, he said, I think I counted 150 interesting characters in your book. All right. Now, obviously, some of the characters get only 3-4 references. Some, like Dr. Ambedkar or Mahadev Desai, are much more important. But that is, a biography has to be, you could say it's like it's an epic canvas, it's like, and especially a figure like Gandhi, because Gandhi, the extraordinary thing about Gandhi was, he had many rivals, many enemies, but also so many friends, and he had disciples, but he also had friends of so many nationalities. And as I said earlier in our conversation, Gopal, he's continuously changing. His interactions change him, and that is the greatness of Gandhi. I mean, that's where I think in a world today that is so polarized because of social media, where we only talk to our own tribe, our own gang, only those. I think that's Gandhi's ability to converse, to have a dialogue with all different kinds of people. And he was completely open. Can I tell one story? Okay. About Gandhi's openness. This is in, Bhisham Sahni, the well-known Hindi writer. His brother Balraj was a famous actor. So Balraj Sahni, in the 1930s, if you were a, very young person, you wanted to meet Tagore and Gandhi. So Bhisham Sahni went from Punjab first to Shantiniketan, then to Sevagram. So from there he is sending letters to his younger brother, what the ashram life is like. And he says, anyone from anywhere in India can come and debate with Gandhi. They will go on his morning walk. Gandhiji would go on his morning walk to the next village, 5 miles there, 5 miles back, and anyone could come. So, 5, 10, 20 people would come and they would ask him questions. And he said, you could go, you could say, Gandhi, but you're wrong about caste. You are not radical in your critique of untouchability. Gandhi, you're wrong about this. And Gandhi would answer. But anyone from across India could have a debate with Gandhi. But no one could monopolize Gandhi. So, Bisham Sandhi is writing, Balraj Sandhi is writing Bisham Gandhi, that as the war continues, if one person is very insistent, asking more and more questions, as sometimes happens, Gandhi would send a signal, and from the back of the crowd, one of Gandhi's followers, who was very dark and very smelly, who smelt very badly, would come, put his face near the insistent questioner. The questioner would recoil in horror and be pushed back, and the next questioner would come. And then he says, this was Gandhiji's non-violent way of making sure that the argument continued. Now, that's a joke, but I think that is today. I mean, how many of our politicians give unscripted interviews? Are they willing to? Gandhi was always open. You could write to him, and if your letter was not crazy, he would reply to you. And in my biography, I've quoted some of these letters. For example, women. Gandhi once made a very unfortunate remark about women. Women being harassed, eve teasing and molesting. And he made a very unfortunate remark, a patriarchal remark. He said something like, maybe they should not wear makeup and lipstick. So 11 women of Bengal wrote him an angry letter saying, you are blaming the victim. And he wrote a very considered reply. So at those letters to Gandhi, including the critical letters, are all there in the archive, and unfortunately, scholars have neglected them.
There is an argument that you made in response to a question from a student at Harvard that countries liberated through non-violent struggle have achieved more stable democracies than countries liberated through violent means. India and Pakistan are countries that came into being through non-violent means. But Pakistan did not have a stable democracy. How do you see that?
So there are many reasons for that. One reason, obviously, is that Pakistan has had bad luck. Nehru was Prime Minister for 17 years, so he could give our country, our nation and our democracy a stable foundation. Jinnah died a little over a year after Pakistani independence. Another reason is that Pakistan became a frontline state in the Cold War. So they had to take America's side. We could say we will be non-aligned. And with the America propped up the army. The army became very important. And the army is always bad for democracy. But most importantly was the difference between the Congress party, which led India's freedom struggle, and the Muslim League, which led Pakistan's freedom struggle. The Muslim League from beginning to end was landlords, zamindars, princes and intellectuals. No peasants, no workers, no women. Gandhi from the 1920s brought peasants, women, backward castes, all into the national movement. And he had some extraordinary followers who were doing this. Patel in Gujarat, Kamaraj here in Kerala, Rajendra Prasad in Bihar, people in Kerala for sure. So at Gandhi, because of Gandhi's ethic of dialogue and debate, we had prepared the ground. And then also, I talked about Gandhi's ability to incorporate criticism, but also the Congress of that time, not the Congress of today, ability to incorporate rivals. So when India became independent, Gandhi cautioned the Congress leaders. He said, independence has come to India, not to the Congress party. So the first cabinet of India was inclusive. Dr. Ambedkar, who had been a lifelong opponent of the Congress, became law minister. Sardar Baldev Singh of the Akalis became defense minister. Shaba Prasad Mukherjee of the Hindu Mahasabha was in the cabinet. Shadmukam Shetty of the Justice Party, opposed to Congress, was our first finance minister. And in the constitution too, if you read the history of the constitution, there's so much deliberation by so many people. So that, that ethic of debate and taking people along, Pakistan never had. Jinnah was the first word and the last word.
And there's a supplementary question for that. And as a historian, where will you place the violence occurred during the partition of India, whether it was a part of the non-violent independence struggle or a chapter after attaining our independence?
No, that's a very complicated question. People are still grappling with it. And there are many reasons for that violence. One reason for that violence is Mountbatten rushed the transfer of power. Transfer of power was happening. Partition could not have been prevented. Contrary to the WhatsApp history you hear now, partition could not have been prevented because in 1946, when there were elections, the Muslim League swept the Muslim seats. But partition could have been done differently. You could have taken 2 years, you could have transferred the administration, the military. Mountbatten rushed it. And the other reason for the violence, you see, the main violence was in Punjab, not in Bengal, was less. Punjab had supplied lots of soldiers to the British Army during the Second World War. So the people of Punjab, the Muslims, but also the Sikhs, knew how to handle weapons, which they had learned in the war, fighting the Nazis. And now they turned it on each other. So it's a very complicated question. Obviously, Mountbatten deserves some of the blame. Also, Jinnah. During when the riots happened, Gandhi was fasting for peace in Calcutta. He was fasting for peace in Delhi, and he stopped the riots in both places. Then, 2 Muslims who had supported Pakistan, Chaudhry Khaliqur Zaman, who was a major leader from UP, and Suravardi from Bengal, drafted a joint appeal for Gandhi and Jinnah to sign under their name, saying, from both their names, saying, you must resolve to protect the minorities in your territory. So Pakistan resolves to protect Hindus and Sikhs, and India resolves to protect Muslims. Signed by Gandhi, they drafted a Gandhi-Jinnah appeal. Gandhi said, I will sign. Jinnah said, I will not sign. So there are many, very complicated factors. And, it's hard to reduce it to an individual. You can't say, Gandhi should have agreed to, Gandhi is responsible, or other people will say Savarkar is responsible. Jinnah, it's a very complex historical process, which clearly there were failures by the British administration in hastening the transfer of power.
Yesterday, when I was going out of this hall, one gentleman asked me this question, whether Gandhi was responsible for India's partition, and I almost replied. Pandit Nehru wanted to have Sir Ivor Jennings, his friend and constitutional expert, to draft the Indian constitution. But is it true to say that it was Gandhi and Patel who decided to have a team under the leadership of Dr. Ambedkar?
No. It's all those details are not very clear. I mean, Nehru might have wanted, to consult a constitutional expert. Actually, the bulk of the work, if you read Ambedkar's last speech, the thanks he gives to B.N. Rao and S.N. Mukherjee, So the constitution was a collective work, overseen by Ambedkar. Just as in a cricket match, you have 11 individuals and a captain. Why the fact that Ambedkar, after 20 years of bitter rivalry with the Congress, joined the Congress, was an extraordinary act for which both Ambedkar and the Congress deserve credit. How did that happen? In my book, I suggest Rajkumari Amrit Kaur played a role, because she, again, an important woman whose contribution to history has been ignored. Because she was in the Constituent Assembly, she was in the Minority Rights Committee with Ambedkar, she got on very well with Ambedkar. Now, she was also from a minority, she was a Sikh convert to Christianity, and then of course she told Gandhi that Dr. Ambedkar should be given a more important role. So whatever else, the fact is that it's a collective effort, and Ambedkar's role was crucial. And above all, if you want to remember Ambedkar in the Constitution now, you should read his speeches to the last two speeches to the Constituent Assembly. They are visionary. They really are about how democracies succeed and why they can fail. And they are absolutely relevant to where we are today.
And Ambedkar was the head of the drafting committee for writing our constitution. And how much of Gandhi do you think is in our constitution?
Yeah.
Given that it has become a most valuable document in many countries about democracy, pluralism, and equal justice, and it is considered as one of the great constitutions of the modern world.
Yeah. So, I'm not an expert on constitutional history, but since you raised this issue, I talked about B.N. Rao, but at the Government of India Act of 1935. But even more important in understanding the history of the Constitution is the Motilal Nehru Report of 1928 and the Karachi Congress Resolution of 1931, which guarantee universal adult franchise, equal rights for women and Dalits, and for workers and peasants too. And Gandhi was not formally part of all this. Again, just as it's a mistake to say one person wrote the Constitution, it's a mistake to say the Congress of the Freedom Struggle was one person. Maybe we gave excessive importance to Gandhi earlier. Now we are being excessively harsh in diminishing his role or claiming he was, he played a negative role. So I think these issues of the British did not grant us, did not want Dalits to have equal rights or women to have equal rights, or for this to be a federal constitution where linguistic pluralism is protected and enriched. All this is part of the evolution of the freedom struggle in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And the Constitution is a culmination of this. Gandhi may have wanted a less centralized emphasis, a more decentralized emphasis, but Nehru, Patel and Ambedkar decided, in light of the crisis caused by partition and also the post-war world, which was so fragile and insecure, you needed a strong center. And actually, by the 60s and 70s, the time may have come to have decentralized. But the philosophy, you see the Constitution, if you read the preamble, again the preamble is, there are all kinds of claims. The preamble bears the mark of Ambedkar, but also of Nehru and also of Gandhi. And that preamble, which really, and I think is those essential values of democracy, pluralism, equal rights, non-discrimination, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, are all, Gandhi would have approved of all of them. But so would many other people. So, as I said, the Motilal Nehru report, the Karachi Congress Resolution of 1931, of course, Dr. Ambedkar's inputs, Nehru's own inputs. So it's a collective, it was the work of visionaries, in comparison to whom the politicians of today, of all parties, seem utterly puny.
We can still forgive if someone judge Marx only by his book, Das Kapital. But if we try to judge Gandhi only by his book, Hind Swaraj, won't we be missing the integral Gandhi who had evolved greatly since then?
Of course. There's a mistake. You see, scholars want to only look at a book. Karl Marx is Capital, Darwin is Origin of Species. But Gandhi wrote really only one book, Hind Swaraj, which he wrote in 9 days on a ship. And he started writing in his right hand, and the right hand got tired, so he ended with his left hand. Now, clearly, if you write a book in 9 days, you would, and you had no time to revise it. And he was still growing. He was then just 40 when he wrote it. Right now, and he wrote no other book, so people think that's a textual attitude. But that kind of attitude is for a religious scholar to think. The Quran is my text, the Vedas are my text, the Bible is my text, whatever. But the Guru Granth, but if you understand Gandhi, you have to understand his evolution. In some ways, he stood steadfast to Hind Swaraj. The Hind Swaraj has a brilliant chapter on Hindu-Muslim harmony. It also has a very good chapter on non-violence. But it does not mention caste at all. Because his thinking on caste evolved only after he came back to India. Right. So, On technology, it is very negative, but his later writings are much more, open-minded. So he had another 40 years to live. So look at what he said in the 40 years after that, and then you get a better sense of what he stood for.
Perhaps the first multilingual newspaper in the world history was started by Gandhi in South Africa, Indian Opinion. I understand that the languages were English, Hindi, and Gujarati. I am not sure whether there was Tamil.
There was Tamil.
Okay.
For a little while. And then it became difficult, so it became only English and Gujarati. To begin with, there were 4
The
languages.
first elections in India and the formation of the states based on language were held after Gandhi's martyrdom.
Yeah.
The world was surprised when the first free and fair elections were held in India. Similarly, the formation of states on linguistic basis also took place somewhat peacefully. Today, there are huge concerns and doubts about free elections in this country. Similarly, it is alleged that attempts are being made to impose Hindi. How did India peacefully implement 2 major things? First elections and the formation of states in the 1950s without Mahatma's moral presence.
Well, that's because, the post-independence leadership was also took his path forward. I mean, again, if I may say, I don't want to talk about the present, but one very important, when you look at what happened immediately after Gandhi died, today it is fashionable to see Nehru and Patel as rivals. But they were not rivals. If you study them in that time, they were collaborators and team workers. They had disagreements. But then Gandhi died and they buried their disagreements. And they also had people like Ambedkar and others. So I think and they also had first-class administrators. The first election commissioner, Sukumar Sen, who was a mathematician, ICS officer of Bengal, he was an outstanding administrator. The people who see right to the refugees. So I think there was those who founded the Indian Republic were men and women of great competence, of integrity, intelligence, but also competence, and I think that's how we managed it. And today, of course, there are all kinds of questions, but, I don't want, we'll have to have a separate discussion on what the problems we face today are. Let's keep this to Gandhi.
Your book, India After Gandhi, is a political history of this country after Gandhi. Partition, merger of princely states with Indian Union, advent of the constitution, first elections, the darkest period of emergency in independent India, the birth of Bangladesh, the demolition of the Babri Masjid, and the rise of the Bharatiya Janata Party to power, all are topics. My question is, in India after Gandhi, didn't Gandhi's spirit continue to live on in many parallel protests and people's movements outside of the domains of our mainstream political parties?
To some extent, I would say in the civil society movement, in organizations like Seva in Gujarat, in environmental struggles, including in this state. But I think, if you look at Gandhi today, I'll just maybe say something about Gandhi and his relevance today. I think the 2 or 3 aspects of Indian public life today that would have really worried Gandhi. One I have mentioned, which is the arrogance of leaders and their unwillingness to engage in debate, dialogue, and this is across parties. The second is religious majoritarianism. Gandhi was a deeply believing Hindu who was totally opposed to a Hindu Rashtra. And I think that is what would have worried him. And the third, which is less talked about, is, and let me spend 2 or 3 minutes on this because this is not generally discussed, is the environmental crisis that the country faces. And when you think of the environmental crisis that the country faces, there's some things you have to remember. The first is India's environmental problems are not solely or even principally because of climate change. Now the discourse is on climate change, climate change, climate change. And the politician finds it very easy. If a disaster happens in Wayanad or Himalaya, he'll say, oh, it is climate change, what can I do? But if you look at the environmental problems that India faces, and which Gandhi anticipated, which Gandhi warned us against blindly imitating Western models of energy-intensive industrialization. One major problem we face is air pollution in the cities. It has nothing to do with climate change. The second major problem we face is water pollution, which is the death of our rivers, nothing to do with climate change. A third problem we face is decline of groundwater aquifers, not so much Kerala because you are blessed with rainfall, but places like Punjab and Maharashtra. Then you have chemical contamination of the soil. Then you have reckless construction without regard to environmental safety. Like, for example, in Wayanad, where there is, or in the Himalaya. Not just Wayanad, the Western Ghats and the Himalaya are two most important mountain chains, the reservoir of our water and biodiversity, have been devastated by commercial logging, unregulated mining, reckless road construction, over-expansion of resorts. Now, all these problems I mentioned have nothing to do with climate change. First. Number two, they impact the lives and livelihoods of at least 500 million Indians who suffer because of air pollution, water pollution, chemical contamination, floods, etc. And it's a huge economic problem because of the model of development adopted. And climate change is a deadly add-on. So in Wayanad or in Himalaya, you've already destroyed the forest, you have allowed mining, you have built roads recklessly, and then there is a massive outpour, and there is devastation. So climate change is like a man has smoked 60 cigarettes a day all his life. And then he gets cancer and he says climate change. Right? So that is what it is like. Now, so that Gandhi warned us against this. My last book, Speaking with Nature, is about early Indian environmentalists, and it's just come in Malayalam. But I think Gandhi would have been appalled by how our devastation of our natural endowment is wrong in itself and is impoverishing us. It's unsustainable. We cannot continue along this path. It is the nexus of politicians, bureaucrats, and contractors in every state, across every party. Let me say one last thing. Since I'm speaking here in Kerala, and Vinod is somewhere there, the translator of Madhav Gadgil's autobiography. Madhav Gadgil is one of the world's greatest ecologists, not just India's greatest ecologist. There was a committee with great experts and a very wise report, which did not say no development. It explained what development should be done and not be done. Every state government rejected the report. The communists in Kerala, the Congress in Karnataka, the DMK in Tamil Nadu, the BJP in Goa, the Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, everyone rejected the report. Because it is the politician, contractor, neta, industrialist nexus that is devastating our lives today and is making it impossible for our children and our grandchildren to have the kind of life we have today. And that is really, to be Hindu-Muslim harmony and environmental restraint, responsibility, and of course transparency. These are the three things where Gandhi still matters to us today.
Thank you. Thank you for connecting Gandhi to the Indian environmental crisis. Now, how do you approach the contradictions in Gandhi? For example, while he took a very strong stand against untouchability since the 1920s, he was not prepared to completely reject the forecast system in Indian Hinduism, nor can he be seen openly advocating for the Chaturvarnya system after the 1940s. But whether he had a discomfort in questioning Varnashrama Dharma throughout his political life?
No, he changed, So with regard to caste, he started by saying untouchability is bad. So it is ashram he admitted Dalits, but interdining, intermixing, I'm not sure. Then Narayana Guru's followers persuaded him to promote intermixing, hence the temple entry movement in Vaikom, which he endorsed. And then Dr. Ambedkar criticized him further, and he started promoting intercaste marriages in his own ashram. And when you assess Gandhi's attitude towards caste, you have to assess it against his own time, not from the perspective of 2025. Perspective of 1925. What were upper caste Hindus saying about untouchability? Gandhi said in 1920, the upper caste Hindus who practice untouchability are the general dyers of Hinduism. That's what he said. You won't hear this remark quoted by the Dalit critics of Gandhi. You won't find it. Or even the non-Dalit critics of Gandhi. You won't find it. He was consistently opposing untouchability. And no one else in the Congress party said anything about it. What did Nehru say? What did Patel say? What did Bose say? Zero. What did EMS Namboodiripad say? Zero. What did A.K. Gopalan say? Zero. Because they were all talking about class. Gandhi was the only upper caste Hindu of his time who recognized the evil of the untouchability. The one difference between him and Ambedkar was Gandhi wanted to save Hinduism by purging it of the sin of untouchability. Ambedkar felt that there is no hope within Hinduism, so we have to move outside. One last thing I'll say. We must see clearly the ideological difference between Gandhi and Savarkar. But today, we need both Gandhi and Ambedkar on our side. I always tell my friends who are critical of Gandhi, I admire Gandhi. And you cannot stop me from admiring Ambedkar too. Because we need them both. During the anti-CAA protests, one of the nicest things was that people had both their photographs. Because of course, when you are fighting the evil that is confronting us today. So that's the first thing. You have to assess Gandhi in his own time. The second is, Gandhi is not perfect, Gandhi is not God. Why do you ask only Gandhi to be God? Why haven't you asked the others? So within the context of his time, he was extremely radical on gender. Not today. Today we need more. We demand more of our men folk than what Gandhi did. Dalits rightly demand a faster and quicker and more thorough end to caste discrimination than Gandhi pursued, because Gandhi was doing so many other things. So I think some of these criticisms are facile, ahistorical, and the thing is, it's like, it's, as I said, if you look at Gandhi and caste, he's slowly evolving because of people like Narayana Guru and Ambedkar into a radical position where in his last few years of his life, he only allowed a marriage in his ashram between a Dalit and a Savarna. Right. And see what other Congress leaders are doing. What did Bhagat Singh say about caste? Zero. Right. What did Patel and Bose, who are now great heroes of zero. Gandhi was the only major leader of the Congress, of the freedom struggle, who actually raised the question. Maybe his answer was not satisfactory to Ambedkar, and to Gandhi's credit, he recognized the force of Ambedkar's criticism. He said, when his Congress associates attacked Ambedkar, he said, Dr. Ambedkar has a right to be angry and bitter because of how we have treated his people. And he said, it's a mark of restraint that he does not break our heads. Now, that is Gandhi's understanding of where Dr. Ambedkar is coming from. And we should bestow reciprocally that understanding on Gandhi, which our radicals of today are unwilling to do.
Let me say 3-4 sentences in Malayalam. Ramachandra Guha ഇപ്പോൾ ജനറൽ ഡയറിൻ്റെ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞത് ഞാൻ മലയാളത്തിലൊന്ന് പറയാമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചു. കാരണം അദ്ദേഹം അത് പറഞ്ഞത് വൈക്കത്താണ്. വൈക്കത്ത് ഈ നമ്പ്യാതിരിയുടെ മനയുടെ മുന്നിലിരുന്ന് ഗാന്ധി നമ്പ്യാതിരിയോട് സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് വൈക്കം ക്ഷേത്രത്തിന് ചുറ്റിലുമുള്ള വഴികളിലൂടെ അസ്പർശ്യർക്ക് നടക്കാനുള്ള അവകാശത്തിന് വേണ്ടി വാദിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്പ്യാതിരി പറയുന്നത് ഇത് എൻ്റെ കുറ്റമല്ല, ഇത് കഴിഞ്ഞ ജന്മത്തിൽ ഇവർ ചെയ്ത പാപത്തിൻ്റെ ഫലം അവർ അനുഭവിക്കുന്നതാണ്, ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊന്നും ചെയ്യാനില്ല എന്ന് നമ്പ്യാതിരി പറഞ്ഞപ്പോഴാണ് ഗാന്ധി പറഞ്ഞത് നമ്പ്യാതിരിയോട്, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഷ ജാലിയൻ വാലാബാഗിൽ ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് നേരെ നിറയൊഴിച്ച ജനറൽ ഡയറിൻ്റെ അധികാര ഭാഷയാണ് നിങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ പറയുന്നതെന്ന് 1925 പറഞ്ഞതാണ് ഗാന്ധി എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അത് ഐ ജസ്റ്റ് വാണ്ടഡ് ടു റിമൈൻഡ് യു ബിക്കോസ് ദാറ്റ് ഹാപ്പൻഡ് ഇൻ കേരള. Now again, when I mentioned about the Kerala visit, while we were having lunch today, he made a very interesting remark. Therefore, I have added one more question here. In 1925, when Gandhi visited UC College, Gandhi in his speech said, people have a misconception that I am anti-science.
Yeah.
But he explained his position later in UC College, Alua, again 100 years back. Can you say that?
Yeah, so Gandhi gave a speech in UC College, Alva, where he said, it is a common misunderstanding that I'm a foe of science, an enemy of science. It is nothing of the kind. I admire science and the spirit of research, but what is the research for? Is it merely to have a theoretical breakthrough, or is it to help the bulk of the Indian people who live in the villages? So I'm all for science, but a science aimed at emancipating and bettering the lives of the ordinary Indian. So that is what, so Gandhi would have totally approved of KSSP, for example. Professor M.K. Prasad and people like him, whether they liked it or not, but carrying on that spirit. That Gandhi.
Thank you. Religion is something that you can't spit it out bitterly.
Yeah.
You can't swallow it down sweetly. Gandhi, of course, understood the spirit of the various world religions. He understood better than anyone else the history of the tragedies and cruelties that have occurred when religions have been married to state power.
Yeah.
Yet the political being in him reconciled with the religious being in him. Does it seem that he regretted that experiment in the end?
I don't think so, because I think if you look at all over the world, okay, if you look at Gaza, if you look at, Bangladesh, Myanmar, if you look at Kashmir today, the Indian side of Kashmir, what religious majoritarianism, whether it's Hindu or Christian or Muslim or Jewish has done. Gandhi would oppose to that. But is the answer to that atheism? That atheism has caused as many deaths. Soviet communism was atheist. Some 20 million people died, I don't know, at least 10 million people died in the famine that Stalin caused. Communist China was atheist. The Great Leap Forward of Mao killed at least 20 million people. Pol Pot's butchery was done in the name of atheistic communism. Now, so the idea that religion kills, it factually is wrong. Secondly, religion answers, even Marx in his famous statement, religion is the opium of the people. If you read the first lines, it is something like, it is the sigh of a human being in a heartless world. So it provides an anchor. Now, what do you do with it? Gandhi said, each religion has an element of the truth, none have a monopoly. And he also said, every religion is devilish or divine, depending on what its practitioners make of it. So clearly, Gandhi is the divine and Godse is the devil. Now, in a multi-faith country like India, how do you cohabit, how do you bring it together? Now again, let me say one thing. Just as it is today, it is deeply unfortunate that Gandhi and Ambedkar have been made absolute opponents. And it's like a boxing match, only one man can win. That does injustice to Gandhi and Ambedkar. As I said, I explained why we need them both. I mean, I think in many ways, Ambedkar was more insightful about democracy than Gandhi. But in many ways, Gandhi was more insightful about Hindu majoritarianism than Ambedkar. So we need to draw them. Similarly with religion. It became very fashionable among intellectuals to pose Gandhi versus Nehru. Nehru's is Western secularism, Gandhi's is indigenous secularism. I mean, Ashish Nandi wrote a whole book on it. It's utterly mistaken. We need both Gandhi and Nehru when it comes to secularism, because there's the secularism of the state and there's the secularism of civil society. So the state must be neutral. It's not an accident that between 1947, after Gandhi's death, 48, despite partition, from 48 to 63, there were no communal riots in India, because Nehru even though they were conservative congressmen who were right-wing. In other parts, one of the achievements in West Bengal of the communists, unfortunately, unlike the communists in West Bengal lagged when it came to education, health, women's empowerment. They should have, whereas the communists in Kerala did much better. But when it came to communal harmony, I'll give you an example. In 1984, October, I was finishing my PhD in Calcutta. Riots broke out. Indira Gandhi was killed. Riots broke out in Delhi. You remember? And 3,006 were killed in Delhi. There were riots in Indore, everywhere. Calcutta had 50,000 sardars. Many of them taxi drivers, identified by their turban. Jyoti Basu told the police, not one will be harmed. Not one was harmed. And Jyoti Basu said that because he believed in, but also because he had been with Gandhi in 1947 when Gandhi fasted. So the communists had also been influenced by Gandhi. So you need the state to be neutral. You don't need the Prime Minister doing Pran Pratishtha in Ayodhya. It's a total violation of the Constitution. It's also terribly dangerous. It's terribly dangerous. To those who want India to be a Hindu Rashtra, please look at what happened to Pakistan and Bangladesh after they became Islamic Rashtras, and look to Myanmar and what they became a Buddhist Rashtra. If a state identifies with the majority religions, that leads to the decline of its economic, political, social, moral status. So you need a Nehru, you need a Jyoti Basu at the level of the state, but you need a Gandhi at the level of everyday society. Again, I'll give an example from which is relevant. Mumbai had terrible riots in the 80s and 90s. You remember after Babri Masjid, then the what happened in Mumbai and then the terror attack. A citizens group was formed with some remarkable people. Like there was a very upright IAS officer called J.B. D'Souza. There were some Parsis, there were Muslims. I think Asghar Ali Engineer was also part. And Mumbai slowly has, so people, I think, you need, of course, some people can be atheists. In fact, one of the most interesting debates with Gandhi is by an atheist called G. Ramachandra Rao Gora. And he wrote a book called Atheist with Gandhi. Again, let me say one word about this, because this is an aspect of Gandhi's life that is not so well known. Gandhi had a follower, an admirer in Andhra, called G. Ramachandra Rao, known as Gora. So he was doing, in his village, he worked for the emancipation of Dalits, he promoted temple entry, he promoted Khadi, women's rights, but he was an atheist. So he refused to follow Gandhi. So he went to Gandhi, and Gandhi and he had a debate. And he said, I admire all that you do, but I don't believe in God. Even if you have interfaith prayer meeting, I'm an atheist. So Gandhi said, fine. And because of his debate with, Gandhi had a statement, God is truth. But because of Gora, he changed God is truth to truth is God. That means, that's true, truth is God. Because God is truth means you're giving God the last word, the first word. But truth is more important than God, because you can see what people do. And it was an atheist called Gora. So you can be of any faith. But so I think this unfortunate polarization, Nehru versus Patel, Gandhi versus Nehru, Gandhi versus Ambedkar, where it becomes a boxing match, where one man must be knocked senseless. I can never get up again. That is not what we need today. We need all these great visionaries.
You have already answered to my next question, but just a small part where you may be having something to add. Ambedkar and Gandhi are the two most read and discussed social figures in Kerala in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
Ambedkar always had problems with Gandhi, but the issues raised by Ambedkar were always active in Gandhi's holistic view of life.
Yeah.
Even before Gandhi met Ambedkar, he realized the horrors of caste in Hinduism during his visit to Vaikam, Kerala. That marked the beginning of his transformation over the next 2 decades. Do you think that, as many Ambedkarites think, Ambedkar's politics can be carried forward only by hating Gandhi, only by completely rejecting Gandhi? Can't the Gandhi-Ambedkar synergy help combat neo-Hindu extremism in India?
Of
The
course.
last part.
Of course. My answer is absolutely. I mean, much of what I've said is yes. Now, I'll just make two comments on this. All of those of you who are interested in the Gandhi-Ambedkar debate, please read a great book by the late D.R. Nagaraj called The Flaming Feet, which was published in English. I don't know whether there's a Malayalam edition yet. Nagaraj was a great Kannada writer who started writing in English to the end of his life. It shows you not just how we need both Gandhi and Ambedkar, it shows you how Gandhi influenced Ambedkar and Ambedkar influenced Gandhi in their lifetime. The other thing I'd say is also in Karnataka, is an extraordinary Dalit thinker who unfortunately writes only in Kannada. Very little of his work is in English. Devanur Mahadeva, who has also shown us how to bring Gandhi and Ambedkar together. And as I say often in my talks, you're absolutely fine to, if you say, I admire Ambedkar more than Gandhi. There are many good reasons to admire Ambedkar more than Gandhi, even if you're not a Dalit, because Ambedkar was a visionary thinker on democracy, on pluralism, and many things, on personality cults. It's also fine to say, I admire Ambedkar at the expense of, I admire Gandhi more than Ambedkar. But if you fall down the path of making it a boxing match, I admire Arun Shourie, wrote a deplorable book attacking Ambedkar on behalf of Gandhi. It was also like a boxing match. It was what the Ambedkarites do in reverse. If you say, I will admire Gandhi at the expense, but I will demolish Ambedkar, which is what Arun Shourie said. Today the Ambedkarites say, I will admire Ambedkar, but I will demolish Gandhi. I think that is profoundly mistaken. Let me make one last point, which I think, Ambedkar made this extraordinarily prescient remark about personality cult, which explains, the personality cult of our political leaders today. But he would not have wanted to become an icon. Marx, who was a great thinker in many ways, Marx famously said, towards the end of his life, he said, I am not a Marxist. That's why I explained, I'm not a Gandhian. I admire Gandhi, but that does not stop me from admiring Narayana Guru or Ambedkar or Kamala Devi. And I think today's India, particularly confronted with the challenge of authoritarianism and majoritarianism. That's the deadly combination we face today. Creeping authoritarianism and galloping majoritarianism. We need Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, Kamala Devi, Narayana Guru, all of them on our side. And I think it would be a mistake to treat this as make a cult of one person. In the past we made it of Gandhi. Today we are making it of Ambedkar. I think that's a mistake. That will do, it's intellectually a disservice because of the interaction they had between them. But politically, I think it will be suicidal. It will only help those who want to divide us and promote majoritarianism.
I have a question about Gandhi's Jewish friends.
Yeah.
Despite his close friendships with Herman Kallenbach, a Lithuanian-born architect, Henry Pollack, a British lawyer and journalist, Sonia Shelsin, you already mentioned, Sonia Shelsin, a Russian stenographer, and Gabriel Isaacs, an inmate of the Phoenix Ashram, Gandhi was unwilling to take a pro-Jewish stance on the Palestine issue.
Yeah.
If we look at his Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Parsi friends, Gandhi had very few Muslim friends. So, can we say that his friendships did not influence him in matters of policy?
Yes, that's a very good question. Because he had many close Jewish friends, but from the 1930s, he was opposing the Jewish settlements in Palestine, and he said, the Jews cannot enter Palestine on the bayonet of a gun and dispossess the Arabs. That's a very good point. He had some Muslim friends, Imam Bawazir in South Africa, Maulana Azad here, but not of the intimacy that C.F. Andrews or, Parsi Rustamji or the Jewish friends you mentioned, or even, but he actually had few Sikh friends also. Gandhi was living. But he recognized that in India, from a political point of view, Hindus and Muslims must live together. And one last thing I'd say, because I think Nehru was very important here. Nehru has also much misunderstood because without his knowing it and without his wanting to approve it, his family has taken over the Congress party. Please don't blame Nehru for that. And on this issue of equal rights of Muslims, even before Gandhi died, in October 1947, 2 months after independence, Nehru wrote a letter to every chief minister saying, whatever Pakistan does to its Hindus and Sikhs, whatever the provocation of Pakistan, we must give the Muslims who have stayed in India equal rights and security. They are equal citizens. Right. Now that he learned from Gandhi. And only he had that absolute commitment to the rights of minorities. Patel didn't have it to the same extent. And all. So I think that, and after Gandhi's death, so I think that is something where Gandhi recognized that these are the two largest communities in India and they have to get along. Partition caused problems, but millions of Muslims voted with their feet to stay on here. And Nehru said, whatever Pakistan does to the Hindus and Sikhs, we will give our Muslims safety and the rights of equal citizenship. And he stood to that till the end. And I think that's something which every Hindu who occupies a position of power and authority in India today must realize the truth, not just the moral wisdom, but the political wisdom of what Nehru was saying and what Gandhi was saying. Because look at Israel today. Look at what Jewish majority that Israel was a great state. I mean, it was, even after its founding, you could say it should never have been founded. But once it was founded, it had great scientists, lawyers, scholars, a free press. All that Netanyahu has destroyed. Netanyahu has done to Israel what Zia-ul Haq did to Pakistan. And what the junta did to Myanmar. And what Ayatollah Khomeini did to Iran. Another very progressive state. In terms of science, women's rights and so on. Now, do we want that to be done to India? Don't think Hindus are different. Hindus, if you make it a Hindu state, full-fledged majority state, we will go the way of Israel, Pakistan, Iran, Myanmar. And that's where I think we need Gandhi, just as we need Gandhi and Ambedkar both to completely undo the evil of untouchability. We need Gandhi and Nehru both in the struggle against Hindu majorities.
I have just two more short questions, then the mics will come to you. The CPIM believes that the Communist Party of India was founded in Tashkent in 1921 under the leadership of M.N. Roy. However, the CPI considers December 26, 1925, this year, 1900th year, to be its founding date. So, communist parties in India have 100 years of political history. One of your Gandhi notebooks contains a story from the Times newspaper about demonstrations against Gandhi by Indian communists in the 1930s. But today, we see communists in India embracing Gandhi.
Yeah.
You are India's most important modern Gandhi biographer and a great critic of the family role in today's Congress party. But in India, Congress and the communists rely most heavily on Gandhi's martyrdom to combat Hindutva politics. As a historian, what is your opinion on Gandhi's role in today's Indian politics that you already mentioned? Can today's Congress party lay claim to Gandhi? Gandhi belongs to whom?
Gandhi belongs to no party. Every Indian or individuals in parties. So there may be some people, even in the BJP, who have a silent appreciation of Gandhi, right? So Gandhi is not a party man, and it's not an accident that though all 4 of his children went to jail in the freedom struggle, not one giant politics. But Gandhi belongs not just to every Indian, he belongs to everyone. Even if, as I said about the Buddha, even if we disown Gandhi, the rest of the world will affirm him. 23 countries, people are making loving cartoons of him. Right? There is a well-known Brazilian footballer called Gandhi, by the way. Since Kerala loves football, and Kerala, I think, here you want Brazil to win or Argentina to win normally? World Cup, who do you want to win? No, who does Kerala want to win World Cup? Brazil normally or Argentina? Divided. Divided, okay. So, all right. So, I think Gandhi, it's like, I think sometimes, so that is because, as I said, Gandhi was not infallible. Gandhi was not omniscient. Gandhi was not a god. Gandhi was not an oracle. But nor was Ambedkar, nor was Nehru, nor was, dare I say it, Narayana Guru. And all these people would have recognized it. They were seekers, they were strugglers, they were fighting for justice, for peace, for harmony. And today we have to be inspired by them, learn from them, but make our own decisions, not be blindly guided by them. We cannot, it's not as if they have laid down a charter, because they lived a very long time ago. So, but I think, and I'd say this, I would extend that. Ambedkar does not belong to the Dalits alone. The Dalits, obviously, for good reason, have a particular claim on him, but Tagore does not belong to the Bengalis, though many Bengalis think he only belongs to them. Nehru certainly does not belong to the Congress party. That much I can say. All right, he belongs to, and I think with Gandhi, it is, it's, of course, many Indians, unfortunately, out of mistaken understanding of what Gandhi stood for, sometimes it's not mistaken. In the case of the Hindu right, they detest Gandhi because he was clear that they will destroy this country. And we must, of course, stop them from destroying this country. So when, those who allow Godse to trend on October 2nd are doing it not out of any misapprehension or misunderstanding, but that's what they are. They are bigots. They hate anyone who's not a Hindu, and they especially hate a Hindu who said Muslims and Christians have equal rights. They hate that person sometimes even more. But, we must make, but again, I'd say this, that there are many thinkers of our past, and many of them would be in states. So, Narayana Guru is from your state, and he was a visionary thinker. But there may be very interesting Kannadigas and Andhras and, Odias who also we should be reading afresh, But the values that Gandhi upheld, or Sri Narayana Guru upheld, or even in many ways Nehru and Dr. Ambedkar upheld, the values that encode our constitution, those I think where we have to, really, because, a Hindu Rashtra is not in our constitution. It's antithetical totally to our constitution. So we have to find out what are the resources, what are the individuals, what are the streams of thought that those of us who do not want a Hindu Rashtra to happen in our lifetime, we can draw upon. And Gandhi is certainly one of the important people. He's not the only person. He's one of the important and extremely relevant people we can draw upon. Yeah.
I'm going to the last question. I understand that you are writing about Gandhi's world of ideas. That world of ideas was shaped by influences such as Stoic thoughts, Jain Buddhist traditions, Hindu teachings, texts like Ishavasya Upanishad, Gita, Tulsidas Ramayana, the Bible, and the life of Christ, his exposure to the Holy Quran and the life of Muhammad, and then of course Tolstoy, Thoreau, Ruskin, etc. Why was he not influenced by anything new while living in the 20th century?
But you had anything particular in mind? Any particular thinker or?
Marx.
Yeah. No, yeah. Actually, he was, I think, in many ways, he did not read. Gandhi was not a very well-read man. Gandhi's, even he was not even very read, he was not a scholar of religion. When he said untouchability is bad, hundreds of Pandits wrote him letters saying, you don't know Sanskrit, and this is where I'll show you that untouchability is prescribed. So Gandhi, it was his experience, his moral core, and some of his reading that, he was not a thinker, he was not a learned man. He was a quester for truth and justice. And he arrived at his understanding of truth and justice partly through his readings, but much more through his experiences, his friendships, his journeys, his debates. So Gandhi should know, and that is the problem with too many academics reading Gandhi and just looking at Hind Swaraj as so important. Yeah.
Thank you for responding to my questions, and now I leave how എത്ര സമയമുണ്ട് നമുക്ക്? നമുക്ക് 15 മിനിറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. എന്ത് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹയോട് ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ യു ക്യാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ആസ്ക് ആൻഡ് മൈക്ക് ഈസ് ചുരുക്കി ചോദിക്കും.
You want to identify who will ask?
Sir,
Yeah.
Gandhi negated himself, his earlier stance many a time.
Huh?
Gandhi negated his own earlier stance many a time.
His own religious stuff. His own.
Gandhi negated his own earlier stance many a time. Likewise, he was totally against immunization and in a way to modern medicine too. What was his later position and why?
No, I don't want to. I mean, we don't have to follow Gandhi, as I said, in every respect. And I am certainly for the vaccine, was for the COVID vaccine. So I think Gandhi had his fads and eccentricities. For celibacy is one. Immunization, I think it was Rajaji who opposed it more than Gandhi. Not, I think, just please check. For the BCG vaccine, Rajaji opposed. I don't think Gandhi had a strong stance on vaccines. I may be mistaken. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sir. Sir, I'm here to ask something as a person under 30.
Yeah, come, yeah. I speak loud.
I'm actually representing a young person here.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you that on October 2nd, on Gandhi Jayanti, I have been seeing a lot of fake propaganda videos
Yes.
that is trending against Gandhi.
Yeah.
And I have seen my friends who are very educated, and they are not actually far-right people. They are actually left people and very
Yeah.
educated people,
Yeah.
actually supporting a lot of things that we already discussed, like Gandhi versus Ambedkar. They want to put down Gandhi to show Ambedkar
Yeah.
as a good
Yeah.
thing. And it's very concerning because they did, the right propaganda already did that to Nehru, but now
Yeah.
Gandhi, he's not just a figure, he's a lot of values that India is representing to the world, like Ahimsa, Satya, and a lot of things like that. So what can we actually do? Because majority is in social media and very lot
So, that is true. As an individual, I advise every young person, and now actually not just young person, even people my age, to spend less time on this. Okay, now, or if you do, listen, Instagram, I'm not on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, I just post the thing. Because, it comes, it goes, you can distort, long before social media. In 1940 or 41, there was an American politician called Cordell Hull. He said, a lie has gone halfway around the world before truth has got its boots on. Now obviously with WhatsApp and so on. So I would say don't get distracted by that. Don't try and answer them on social media or put your own clip with its own very selective version of why Gandhi was so good and so great. Ultimately, we must all realize this, And, I was heartened to read an article yesterday in the Financial Times which said social media usage may have peaked, because it is very perverting and distorting.
No,
And
but
to understand,
people like Arundhati Roy, like prominent writers and everyone are coming, and they have said something against Gandhi also in these kind of things are happening.
I don't want to, so I don't engage with WhatsApp history. I don't push, I just state something, or I'll say read this article, read this book. And real learning can only come from years of immersion. But you're right, it is a danger, not just with regard to Gandhi, with regard to many other people.
Yes.
And all over the world, not just in India, if you look at Trump's America, it's the right that has learned to weaponize and use social media much more cleverly. So if you're in politics, you have to learn to use it. So today, for example, one of the few good things the Congress party has done is that it has upped its social media game. And I must say the Kerala Congress handle is also quite funny, But since you're young, have a debate with your friends in a civilized way, but to develop your own deeper understanding, don't get your information from social media. That's what I would
sir,
say.
Our information was based on our school system, like NCERT and everything, but now they are changing.
No,
the
there's
syllabus
so many good books on Gandhi. Not just mine. If you Google, I gave an interview some years ago where I recommended 5 outstanding books by other scholars on Gandhi. So you will have to read too. Yes. to learn deeper.
Ji, see, I am thinking about.
What, come here.
I was thinking about the Gandhi while you were talking. During the discussion, I was thinking about the Gandhi in undivided India. Yeah. He worked a lot in the undivided India. Not only in Navakari, he was the iconic followers like Abdul Ghaffar Khan, and also the year when he visited Kerala in 24. In the meantime, he visited a place now in Pakistan to make a solution for the Hindu-Muslim combat. So that we have to start a debate about the Gandhi in the undivided India too. And for that, the people like you should talk about the remains of Gandhi in now Bangladesh and now Pakistan. We call that place, that undivided India. There was a screening of the film, that Anand Padwardhan's film was screened yesterday. It was almost like it's a very, very wonderful experience after the war. You see the friendship between India and Pakistan. I think we have to start using the word South Asia. The Gandhi of South Asia. I think you have to write about the remains of Gandhi, the recovery of a Gandhi from the northeast, provinces, the Balochistan and northwest province and Sindh, and also the Bangladesh. There are also the remains of Gandhi, the tradition of Gandhi. Will you brief on a little bit on that?
So you're absolutely right. And beyond what is now Bangladesh and Pakistan, there's also a Gandhian imprint in Myanmar. I mean, his closest friend, Pranjivan Mehta, who lived in Myanmar, he went there. In Sri Lanka. And Gandhi had he corresponds with Sri Lanka. He has a fascinating trip in 1927. And Mahadev Desai wrote a book with Gandhiji in Ceylon. So as I said, Gandhi does not belong to India alone. But where I will disagree with you is that as a scholar, I will write about Gandhi everywhere. But as a citizen, I will emphasize on what he has to say to India for this reason. And please hear me out. There was a very great, I will have to tell a story, it will take 2-3 minutes, but there was a very great British biologist called J.B.S. Haldane. Was a great biologist of the 20th century. In 1956, he and his wife, who was also a biologist called Helen Spurway, left Britain after the Suez invasion, came to India and became Indian citizens, and then lived here, worked here, and so on. And he was a really great biologist. In 1961, an American science writer wrote an article on him and described him as a citizen of the world, just as you are saying. If I read you rightly, I am a citizen of South Asia. So he said, so Haldane was described as a citizen of the world. And he wrote to that writer, who was doing a compliment. He said, I am not a citizen of the world. Because to be a citizen, you have to hold a government to account. And there is no world government. I am a citizen of India because I seek to hold my government to account. And then he said, no doubt the government of India responds to criticism slowly. But as a citizen, I can hold it to account. So I'm not a citizen of South Asia. I may have sympathy for my Nepali friends and my Bangladeshi friends and so on. And they may have sympathy for me. But this idea, we live in not just geographically, we live in a territory confined by law, constitution, military to this territory called India, which currently has, because of the shameful demotion of Kashmir, has only 28 states, should be 29 states, and maybe many more. But as a scholar, yes, I will look at Gandhi everywhere. But as a citizen, I have only one state which I want to hold to account. So I will remind my fellow Indians and about Gandhi, in the context of what they can do to make governance in India more humane. That's why, it's a very idealistic, nice concept. I'm a citizen of South Asia. Because, see, Unlike you can be a citizen of Europe because Europe has the integrated market. Europe has all these, but India, South Asia does not. So that's why I always hesitate in my writing as a citizen. In my writing as a scholar, yes, I will write about what Gandhi did in South Africa. I'll write about Ghaffar Khan. I'll write about, solidarity in Poland and how they upheld his ideas. But I think you will appreciate the distinction I'm making, between what I can do as a scholar and what my duties are as a citizen, because I am an Indian citizen. I'm not a world citizen. Because that's the state that I want to reform that state. I may fail, and mostly I fail. But I think that's the problem with, trying to say I'm a citizen of South Asia, I'm a citizen of the world.
Last question.
Sir, I have got to ask 2 questions for your response. An earlier speaker in this Gandhi Fest today rightly said that Gandhi had an inherent tendency to act in an individual manner instead of organizing mass movements.
Yeah.
Actually, this personal and subjective attitude of Gandhi was severely criticized by Bhagat Singh as well as Subhash Chandra Bose. But they raised this ideological criticism against the Mahatma, while both of them had extreme esteem towards Gandhiji. It seems that Gandhiji was actually afraid of mass movements. Bhagat Singh had said in his article, Philosophy of Bombs, that the revolutionaries never believed in terrorism, though some such incidents took place. Bhagat Singh fasted for 116 days in jail. That is one question.
No, I understood the question. I understood the question. Your question was about disagreements between Gandhi on the one side and Bose and Bhagat Singh on the other. Now, you please come here. Please come. So the disagreement was not about mass movements. The disagreement was about the use of violence. It was not about mass movements. Gandhi did not believe that violence was morally right and nor that it was politically efficacious. You quoted Bhagat Singh's article, Philosophy of the Bomb. Please read Gandhi's reply, The Cult of the Bomb. And as Gandhi says there, if you use violence, the ordinary people will suffer because the state has more violence. And that is what happened to the Naxalites in Bastar. No, please. No, you can write to me, we can have a debate later. Let me finish. Please listen. You've asked the question. Do me the courtesy of listening. So that was the major difference. I have a book coming out in a year's time called Arguments with Gandhi, where the Bhagat Singh, Gandhi, all is debated. Listen to it. The difference between Bhagat Singh and Bose is this. Bose had already evolved his political views. He was totally committed to violence and he was totally committed to authoritarian rule. Bose was a great patriot. He believed in Hindu-Muslim harmony, but he sided with Hitler and the Nazis. Now that tells you, if you believe that ends are everything and means are not, there's a problem. There's a difference between Bose and Bhagat Singh. Bose was a politically evolved being when he disagreed with Gandhi. Bhagat Singh was in his early 30s. And I want to say one thing, let me say something. Bhagat Singh was in his early 20s. He was 23. We don't know how he would have evolved. He was a young man. He worshipped Lenin, but he did not know what was happening in the Soviet Union. Where would he have gone? How would he have evolved? So the tragedy of Bhagat Singh was that he was cut off here. In my new book, you will also see, I've explained how it's a lie that Gandhi did not do enough to save Bhagat Singh's life. He did more than that. But the most important thing, which I've got a link to Kerala, and since the Communist Party of India today, Marxist, is in power only in Kerala and is likely to be only in power in Kerala, I recently met a very important leader of the CPM. And please listen to what I told him. So that you'll know, just as posing Ambedkar to Gandhi is counterproductive, posing Bhagat Singh to Gandhi is also counterproductive. I told this person, in your annual party conference, you have 4 individuals, Marx and Engels, 2 19th century German thinkers, Stalin and Lenin, two 20th century Russian dictators. Why did you remove one of them and put Bhagat Singh? At least you'll have an Indian. So this tells you that A, I admire Bhagat Singh. B, I don't know where he would have gone if he had grown older. C, it is very simple to misrepresent what Gandhi said and what he thought and that debate and polarize it. And you don't have to be on social media to represent it. You can take one quote out of context. They had disagreements on the question of non-violence. But if Bhagat Singh, it's my belief that if Bhagat Singh had lived longer, he would have been the most original Marxist thinker produced by India. He may have moved in directions we do not know, because if you look at it, I've studied his notebooks, by the way. And if you see the range of his reading, he's reading Adam Smith, he's reading Tolstoy. We don't know where he would have gone. So, but please do not, if you go back into these debates, if you want to use Bhagat Singh to knock out Gandhi, you're only helping the Hindu right and no one else.
I cut short my question only one word. That is, you have said about Mahadeva Desai in detail, but what about Acharya J.B. Kripalani?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There are many people, you're right. Kripalani met Gandhiji even before Mahadev did. But he's an extraordinary figure. But Mahadev, people know about Kripalani because Kripalani wrote books. Kripalani was an MP. Kripalani famously criticized Krishna Menon. But Mahadev was actually with Gandhi for 25 years, every single day, interpreting him, translating him, chastising him. So there were many people, I did not, but Mahadev was in a class of his own, and his contributions to the making of the Mahatma, I mean, since Marx was mentioned, without Engels there would be no Marx. Without Mahadev Desai, there would be no Gandhi, and you cannot say this about anyone else. I can be absolutely clear about it.
Sir, good evening. Yeah. Thank you for the enlightening conversation. It's a very short question, maybe a brief response shall do. How do you think Gandhi's philosophy would inform his response to the recent Gen Z protest? Because the former people who raised questions touched upon South Asia, Nepal, Bangladesh.
I have not studied it, Rajiv. I have not studied it to answer it in any. I can't speak for Gandhi. I can't speak for what Gandhi will do today in Nepal. I can't.
ഇത്രയും സശ്രദ്ധം ഇത്രയും ആളുകൾ ഈ കോൺവെർസേഷൻ ഈ സംഭാഷണം കേട്ടിരുന്നത് വല്ലാതെ ഹൃദയത്തെ സ്പർശിക്കുന്നു ഒന്നായിരുന്നു. ഇത്രയും ആളുകൾ ഇദ്ദേഹം ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ ഇത്രയും വിശദമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നത് കേൾക്കാൻ ഇത്രയും ആളുകൾ സശ്രദ്ധം ഇരുന്നത് വളരെ വലിയൊരു കാര്യമായിട്ട് കാണുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ യുവർ keen listening to this conversation.
Thank you very much.
We are extremely happy to express our honorable gratitude for your inspiring words, clear and confident communication connecting Gandhi to Indian approach, influence of Gandhi and Ambedkar, etc. leads to the treasure of knowledge. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
മനോഹരമായ സായാഹ്നം, അതിമനോഹരമായ ഒരു അഭിമുഖം, അതിനാണ് നാം സാക്ഷ്യം വഹിച്ചത്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ അഭിമുഖത്തിന്, ഈ ഒരു ചടങ്ങിന്, ഈ ഒരു സെഷന് നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി ശ്രീ ശ്രീജേഷ് നാഗപ്പള്ളിയെ സ്നേഹപൂർവ്വം ക്ഷണിക്കുകയാണ്.
ബഹുമാന്യരെ, ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റ് 2025 ഏറ്റവും പ്രൗഢവും ഗംഭീരവുമായ ഒരു സെഷനാണ് ഇവിടെ അവസാനിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇതിൻ്റെ പ്രാധാന്യം, ഇതിൻ്റെ ഗൗരവം എന്നുള്ളത് ബഹുമാനനായ പ്രഗത്ഭനായ ചരിത്രകാരൻ രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹ അവരുടെ സാന്നിധ്യം തന്നെയാണ്. രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹ, a distinguished writer and thinker who was honored with the Padma Bhushan by the nation in 2009, is present on this stage. He is one of the writers in India who is equally interested in research in history, politics, environment, and cricket. We would like to express our gratitude to Sri Ramachandra Guhaji for giving us your valuable time for this program. Thank you, sir. സംഗീതത്തിലെ പ്രത്യേകമായ രാഗങ്ങളിൽ തുടങ്ങി ഭരണഘടന, പരിസ്ഥിതി, ഹിന്ദു മുസ്ലിം സഹോദര്യം, അംബേദ്കർ, വർണ്ണാശ്രമധർമ്മം എന്നിങ്ങനെ വ്യത്യസ്തമായ മേഖലകളിലൂടെ വളരെ ഗൗരവപ്പെട്ട ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉന്നയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ അഭിമുഖ സംഭാഷണത്തെ സജീവമാക്കിയ നമ്മുടെ ഇതിൻ്റെ അഭിമുഖ സംഭാഷണം നടത്തിയ പ്രഗത്ഭനായ എഴുത്തുകാരൻ, ബ്രോഡ്കാസ്റ്റർ, ആദരണീയനായ എസ് ഗോപാലകൃഷ്ണൻ അവരുകളെ ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായി നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. ഗാന്ധി ഒരു അർത്ഥവായന എന്നുള്ള അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ പുസ്തകം പ്രശസ്തമായിട്ടുള്ളൊരു പുസ്തകമാണ്. മികച്ച ചോദ്യങ്ങളോടെ നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെഷനെ ഏറ്റവും സജീവമാക്കി അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ആദരവോടുകൂടി നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സംഘാടക സമിതിയുടെ നെടുന്തൂണായിട്ടുള്ള ആദരണീയനായ മനയത്ത്, അദ്ദേഹം വേദിയിലുണ്ട്, അദ്ദേഹത്തെ നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. ഈ സെഷന് സ്വാഗതം പറഞ്ഞ PK രാമചന്ദ്രൻ, ഇതിൻ്റെ കോർഡിനേറ്റേഴ്സ്, ഈ ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ കോർഡിനേറ്റർ, അദ്ദേഹത്തെയും നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. എല്ലാത്തിനുമുപരി ഇവിടെ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉന്നയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഈ ഇതിനെ അഭിമുഖത്തെ സജീവമാക്കിയ, അതോടൊപ്പം സാന്നിധ്യം കൊണ്ട് ഈ പരിപാടിയെ ഗംഭീരമാക്കിയ എല്ലാ സദസ്യർക്കും, വളരെ പ്രഗത്ഭരായ വ്യക്തിത്വങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഇവിടെ വേദിക്ക് മുമ്പിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥികളായി നേരത്തെ സെഷനിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത MN കാരശ്ശേരി മാഷ്, അതുപോലെ ഡോക്ടർ ബസവരാജ്, അൻവർ അലി സാറ്, EV രാമകൃഷ്ണൻ സാർ, ഡോക്ടർ അജയ്, എക്സെട്ര, അങ്ങനെ ധാരാളം പേർ, നേരത്തെ സെഷൻ നമുക്ക് ടീച്ചർ ഉൾപ്പെടെയുള്ള എല്ലാവരും ഈ വേദിയിലിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. ഇതിൻ്റെ സംഘാടകർ പ്രമുഖരായിട്ടുള്ള ഹരീന്ദ്രനാഥ് സാറ്, അതുപോലെ വിനോദ് പയ്യട, അതുപോലെ പ്രദീപ് കുമാർ ഉൾപ്പെടെ എല്ലാ ഇതിൻ്റെ സംഘാടകർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. മാധ്യമങ്ങൾക്കും എല്ലാം നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു.
അഭിമുഖത്തിൽ പങ്കെടുത്ത രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹ സാറിനും ഒപ്പം S ഗോപാലകൃഷ്ണനും ഉള്ള സ്നേഹ സമ്മാനമാണ് ഇനി ഈ വേദിയിൽ നടക്കുന്നത്.
We warmly invite Mr. Ramachandran, Chairman Gandhi Fest, to hand over the memento to Dr. Ramachandra Guha.
വർത്തമാനകാല ഇന്ത്യയിലെ പ്രഗത്ഭനായ ചരിത്രകാരനും 2009 പത്മഭൂഷൺ അവാർഡ് ജേതാവും വിദേശ സ്വദേശ സർവകലാശാലയിലെ പ്രൊഫസറും അറിയപ്പെടുന്ന ക്രിക്കറ്റ് ചരിത്രകാരനുമായ ബഹുമാന്യനായ ശ്രീ രാമചന്ദ്ര ഗുഹയെ ആദരിക്കാൻ ഗാന്ധി ഫെസ്റ്റ് ചെയർമാനായ ശ്രീ മനയത്ത് ചന്ദ്രനെ സാദരം ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു.
Ramachandran Guha, a prominent historian of contemporary India. He has authored famous historical books on Gandhi, such as India Before Gandhi, The Years Mahatma Gandhi Changed the World, 1924 to 1948, India After Gandhi, etc. And also co-authored books like this, Divided Land and Environmental Science and Justice with Madhav Gadgil.
Also invite P. Harindranath, Director Gandhi Fest, to deliver the memento to Sri S. Gopalakrishnan.
रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम.